I'm Dave Greenwood, and this is Overcoming Distractions. If you are an adult with ADHD, a busy professional, an entrepreneur, a high achiever, or just need some strategies to navigate your adult ADHD, you're in the right place. Who am I? I'm an entrepreneur with ADHD and the author of 2 books, Overcoming Distractions and Overcoming Burnout. I coach and mentor people just like you, and together we navigate the ups and downs of adult ADHD. From getting out of our own way to helping people just like you thrive in the workplace. That's what I do. Want more info on working with me? Hit overcomingdistractions.com. Ready? Let's get to today's podcast. All right, gang, welcome back. It is Dave, and you are once again on Overcoming Distractions. And if you are that busy professional with that demanding career and you just happen to have adult ADHD, or you think you have ADHD, you're in the right place. So, hey, let's talk about working smarter, and it is one of my favorite things to talk about because I think for many of us there is a lot of room for improvement. And one thing I know to be true for many of us with ADHD is how chaotic our weekly schedules can be. And I've talked to lots of you where we have done some work to kind of smooth things out. There's always room for improvement as far as I'm concerned. And, you know, when I went through burnout, it was one of those things that should have been really obvious to me. And that was the way I constructed my week. And when I figured out, while I did a little work, it was nothing short of chaotic when I really kind of came right down to it. So when we just drop meetings or other tasks or work times into our calendar without thinking about the bigger picture, it's a recipe for stress, chaos, and the, I guess, inability to get any type of meaningful productivity done. And I am a massive fan of having an organized schedule to the best of my ability. And that means within reason. I do everything I can to control how my week flows, given certain ups and downs and different commitments that pop up. So, and I think that we need to understand that reality is a part of our lives. So, but how do I do it? Well, I will give you a quick snapshot and then we'll dig into it. But I regularly look at my schedule to find ways to free up more time. And I occasionally blow the whole schedule up around here because sometimes I just find better ways of doing things. But I do know one fact to be absolutely true when it comes to those of us with ADHD is the more uninterrupted time we have and the more runway we have in front of us, the more meaningful productivity we will achieve. And for example, one of my secret weapons for my ADHD brain is having entire days with no meetings. And I understand that's not realistic for many of you. I get it. But it can be a goal. And I think some of you I have worked with one-on-one, we have figured out a way to do it, even if it's just one workday a week. So I want to do this because I think it can really help you have some agency over your week and actually be fulfilled at the end of the week when we really get a handle on how we control our schedules. So I want to go through my basic framework for blowing up our schedules and actually making it work with and for our ADHD brain. So here we go, and stick with me here for a few minutes because I'm just going to go through the kind of the bullet points here. This podcast is a quick hit and run to help you just maybe get the ball rolling on on fixing your schedule. So number one is, quite frankly, audit your current use of time during the week. And I know audit seems like a big, scary word, but hear me out. One of the biggest things we can do when we need to kind of figure out how to rework our schedule is just sit there in a quiet room and scroll through our schedule. Whether you're using Gmail or, your Office 365 or what have you. Sometimes you just need to sit quietly and scroll through a few weeks and just see what's on there. Just get like a 30,000 foot view. Other people I know have found success in maybe taking a little time and tracking those activities for a couple weeks, seeing some recurring patterns. I know other people that have actually used time tracking apps or written things down in a journal. I know people have used Llama Life. They've used Rescue Time. Those are a couple examples. And that can kind of give you a snapshot of how you kind of spent your time at the very least. And the next is from there, just kind of identify those patterns. Where did your time go? What are the things that are like consuming energy, but maybe even giving you like little return or, yielding, a little bit of value when you could be spending your time better. I also think the next thing is notice those distractions, the meetings, the unnecessary meetings, right? We all have those. The bottlenecks, the tripwires, those types of things. I think when we just kind of take a look at our week and say, hey, you know what, on Wednesday this happens all the time, or on Thursday this happens all the time. I can never get anything done on this day. Make a note of it. Be aware of it. I think the next thing is let's kind of define what our priorities are, what our goals are for the week. This is going to start to pave the way to give you a little more control and agency over your week. And I think one of the big things that most of us need to get a handle on is determining like those core responsibilities. And I guess some people call them maybe a high impact task, so to speak. What are the things that just like need to get done every week? Do you have things that just need to be done regularly in your job or your business? Make a note of those. I mean, hell, that could be scheduling social media if you're in marketing, or making phone calls, or maybe you're running or working in a landscaping company, right? And you got to invoice like every week, those types of things. So, but determine those things that absolutely need to get done on a regular basis. I also think is you need to define what that meaningful productivity looks like for you. We can just throw the word productivity around all day, but what is meaningful productivity to you? Is it having those times for deep work? Is it strategic thinking? Do you have to do a lot of thinking in your job or your career? Is there a creativity involved? Are you in the creative career, whether it's art or graphic design or something? Are you a leader? Are you in the C-suite? Are you a CEO? Are you the owner of a company? Are you a CFO where much of your week is spent leading others? Do you need to work the phones? Maybe you're in sales and you said, you know what, I have to do X number of calls a day. That's meaningful productivity. So, and then just understand those goals. Understand the things that need to be done on a regular basis. Next thing, I want you to figure out what an ideal kind of schedule and week would look like for you. Maybe you don't know it yet. Maybe you need to do a little bit of experimenting. But I'm going to go back to time blocking, and you can at me if you want, as they say, or you can write on the podcast review that, oh, Dave told me to block out time. Yeah, well, guess what? It does work, okay? I am absolutely 1,000,000% confident that when you block out big chunks of time, you can actually get stuff done. if you protect yourself from yourself, such as the phone and YouTube and all those other things. So, but start to allocate those kind of dedicated chunks of time for that focused work. Maybe it's those administrative tasks, going back to the regular things that need to get done. Maybe you've got a bunch of little things that take 5 or 10 minutes each, all right? Maybe it's a great way to, block out a chunk of time on Friday to actually knock out a bunch of little stuff, right? Theme days. This is one of my favorite things, and I learned this long ago, that my brain got in a certain type of mode and certain type of zone. And the way I started my day, ultimately, I figured out was the way I wanted to finish my day. So if I was doing meetings, I would do as many meetings as I could in one day. Now, I know some of you don't like that, but it does get them out of the way. Maybe you do a lot of phone work. Maybe you do a lot of emails. Maybe you do writing in your job or your career. But the brain does get in a certain flow, and it gets easier and easier if you have like an entire day to actually do this type of task or project. So think about theme days. Can you take like a Monday or a Friday and not have any meetings and put some type of similar type of task in there? So we talk about batching tasks a lot. Again, maybe it's like, all right, 2 hours at the end of the day, I'm going to knock out emails. Maybe I need to do phone calls. Maybe I'm going to do phone calls after lunch or what have you. But batch those things. I know people maybe in real estate where they got a prospect every day and they carve out 2 or 3 hours a day to just work the phone. Those types of things. And again, go ahead, yell at me, but I also think that the Pomodoro technique or something similar is a great way to gamify blocking out time and creating focus time for yourself. And if you say, Dave, it didn't work, give it another shot, because I actually think that it is an effective tool. There's a phone app. You can go into, I believe, Google or your Office 365. I don't know if it's called Pomodoro, but you can take a look at that. So next step in actually trying to blow up our schedule as a busy adult with ADHD is to get rid of or offload maybe some low value work, so to speak. Identify things that maybe you can outsource, maybe you can automate, maybe you can delegate it to somebody else, right? That's an effective way. You want to be doing your high value work. I mean, that's anybody. I don't care if you have ADHD or not, all right? You can also implement some type of automation for repetitive things. Again, I go back to my marketing days where we scheduled like an entire week of social media. We did it in one shot, and then that was it. If you're a small business owner, you're an entrepreneur, is there any way you can automate your invoicing? Can you automate your scheduling? Can you use a system where people can book time with you and then you can send automatic reminders, those types of things? When you book a time with me, you get a link and then you get an email back from me after you book a time with me to chat for a few minutes with a Zoom link. I've automated all that. I don't have to do anything. So, next, we need to pull up the thesaurus when it comes to boundaries, but you know what I'm saying. We need to set some boundaries. We need to protect our time. We need to block off that non-negotiable time to actually get stuff done. And I don't care if it's protecting yourself from others or protecting yourself from yourself, right? Because we all know what that means, right? Can you do everything from maybe a do not disturb sign on your office? Maybe you've got a home office and you want to make sure your family knows that you're working for a little bit, all right? You got to set those boundaries, and maybe you got to communicate with them as well. I've worked with so many people, especially executives with ADHD, that it was just like an open door policy in their work, and they never get anything done. And they got, one of the things that worked well for many is they just had office hours for people that needed to communicate with them. And maybe that's something you need to think about. Next, we're going to do a whole episode on energy, because time management doesn't exist without energy management. And I want to say that again. Time management does not exist without managing your energy. You can schedule things all day if you want, but if they're scheduled when you don't have energy, guess what? You're not going to get it done. I am a firm believer in this, and you have to follow the energy, especially when you're in a demanding career as somebody with ADHD. You have to follow the energy, and you need to identify that for yourself. So, for example, I, in my PR days, would do a lot of writing, and I still do to some extent for a handful of clients, where I have to do that stuff in the morning. Try to do it at 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Forget it. I can't even type 5 words. It is not going to happen. And you need to align certain tasks with your peak energy hours, whether it's morning, afternoon. Maybe you get a burst of energy after dinner. I don't know. And you need to build in time for a little bit of recovery. So, and these are the foundations of managing ADHD, right? Making sure you get good sleep, exercise, taking those breaks, hitting that release valve. But that's going to allow you to maximize your type of energy when you have ADHD and you're in that kind of demanding job. You got a lot of stuff to get done. So I also think the other thing that you can do when you can optimize your energy levels is reduce a little bit of fatigue by maybe simplifying some of your routines. For example, maybe you make your food the night before for the following day. Maybe you prep food Sunday night for a few days. Those types of things. But that's going to allow you to maximize your energy at different times of the day, especially in the morning. Get your day off to the right start. And like anything we talk about here, and anything when I work with people individually, is that we always review and we adjust where it needs to be adjusted. Managing ADHD as a busy person, a demanding career, lots of other responsibilities, personally, professionally, does require you to constantly review how something went, good or bad, and adjust. And I think over time, if you do this, you will figure out a way to have that control and agency over your weeks and your days and your months. And you will be more fulfilled, and you will be more happy, and you will be less stressed out in the long run. Not doing these things is going to be a major contributor to feeling burned out. And that's why I say you really need to tackle how you work best, and follow the energy. And if you take anything away from this, make sure you have adequate, big chunks of time to actually get stuff done where you are not interrupted. And I'll leave you with this. Celebrate your wins, okay? If something worked well, if you said, oh my God, I crushed it, I actually got this project done 3 days before the deadline, and I adjusted my schedule so I could get it done, you crushed it, and give yourself a pat on the back. This is how you're going to sustain your long-term, meaningful productivity, and you're going to be satisfied and fulfilled in your busy career as a person with ADHD. All right, gang. Again, you are in the right place if you're a busy adult with ADHD. I say it a lot because that's who we serve here, and that's who we talk to, and that's who I work with individually to do some problem solving. So if you need to take it to the next level and work out your individual kind of wants, needs, challenges, frustrations, then please just hit my website, overcomingdistractions.com. Right on the homepage, click the button, book a 15-minute chat with me. All right, and let's see if we are a good fit. I would love the chance to help you do some problem solving and help you live a more fulfilled life, both personally and professionally. All right, kids, we'll catch you next time.